Hi, my name is Stephanie Richter, and I'm the Instructional Technologies Coordinator with the Faculty Development and Instructional Design Center at Northern Illinois University. Welcome to today's webinar, part of our mobile learning series on an introduction to eBooks. A quick look at the agenda. Today is really going to be an overview. What are eBooks and how might you use them? What are some of, we'll also look at ways to incorporate them into your courses, like including some of the advantages and limitations of using them. And we'll look at a little bit of the devices and how you might find and use eBooks in your courses. But first, a little bit of perhaps vocabulary or nomenclature. You'll see both of these terms used quite a bit. Both ebook, one with the little e and a capital B, and another one hyphenated. You'll find that the first version with the little e and the capital B gets a little awkward when we try to use it elsewhere. You may see it entirely lowercase or capitalized at the beginning of a sentence with a capital E and a little b. Whereas the hyphenated version, then, here are two other versions you commonly see of that term as well. They're really, at this point, sort of interchangeable. There isn't a standard. I've found, just in my own perusal, as I was researching for this, it seems to divide fairly evenly, where the little e, big B ebook is used within popular media, whereas the hyphenated version is more common in academia. And I think that's probably given our proclivities for writing style and things like proper APA, MLA format. The hyphenated version capitalizes a little bit nicer than the mixed case version. But I will probably stick with I believe I stuck with this top version for today's presentation because I like it a little bit better. But you do see both of these used in writing about ebooks. So first, let's consider why you would use ebooks. I think we're fairly aware now that mobile learning as a trend is just continuing to grow. So a few statistics specific to ebooks. According to the Pew Research Center, 17% of adults have read an ebook as of December 2011. And that was just before the Christmas buying season. And after, we found that in February, an additional 4% of adults have read an ebook now. So as the sales grew over the Christmas season, so did the ebook use. I'm just going to pause for a moment, and if you've used an ebook, click the check mark, and if you haven't used an ebook, click the X, just to get an informal survey so we can see who has or has not used an ebook. All right, so we're looking a little bit over 50% have read it. Looks like 3 to 2 have used an ebook. Good. So some of you have some experience and some of you are new to this. Ebook usage is really driven by gadgets. So here are let's see here, 7 most common gadgets or technology used to read an ebook. And this is straight ownership percentages. Of the individuals surveyed, what percentage had these devices, along with the years that the survey was conducted, because these came up in different of the Pew Center's research studies. So ebook readers, which is what we most commonly think of for ebooks, are hovering at about 20%, just a little under, at 19% as of early this year. That's not a huge percentage. It's not the 80% of the population, but that is a growing trend of a dedicated ebook reader. We'll also look a little bit at tablet statistics, because many individuals are using their tablet like an iPad for ebooks as well. So here are statistics over time for e-readers, and there's a lot of information in this table. So we'll break down a little bit. The turquoise strand here in the middle is the overall usage. So we can see in a year and a half that overall ownership has gone from about 6% to 19%. So that's quite a bit of growth in a year and a half. Our general demographic of 18 to 29-year-olds is the blue line, and while they didn't have a whole lot of change from November 2010 to December 2011, ownership among 18 to 29-year-olds is also at about 18%. So even with our traditional and slightly older non-traditional students, e-reader ownership is quite strong. And within the e-reader population, there are a lot of different options. The overwhelmingly most common e-reader is the Amazon Kindle. It comes in a variety of sizes and formats. We'll look more at devices later, but quite a few. The Barnes & Noble Nook is also gaining popularity at about 22%. And then the rest of the market is split among a few other options like the Sony Reader or the Kobo that have some usage, but they aren't as common as really the two that are dominating the market right now, Kindle and the Nook. I also promised that we'd look at some statistics for tablet ownership. So here again, all adults is the turquoise line. So November 2010, about 5% of adults owned a tablet. And now January, it's actually almost identical to the ebook stats, where 19% own them. However, among younger adults, like those 18 to 29, tablet ownership now is much higher at 24%. So we have a fairly large portion of the population here at NIU who have either a tablet or an e-reader that they could use for ebooks. And then among tablets, the market's a little bit more fractured, but the iPad, across a variety, it's all three now of their models, 1, 2, and the new iPad, is at about 61% of all tablets owned are iPads. The Kindle Fire is next. We'll talk about what makes the Kindle Fire a little different. It's a small format tablet at a lower price range, which makes it really attractive. And then a few others that were also broken out in the market. But again, overwhelmingly, the largest percentage of tablet ownership falls to iPads. However, I don't want to create too much of a sense that these are the only two ways to read an ebook, because if you take nothing else away from the session, I want you to realize that ebooks are not about e-readers. Well, here you can see that of the adults who have read an ebook, 41% read that on an ebook reader. There's still quite a few who read them in other devices. So 42% of adults who have read an ebook read that ebook on a computer. Most of these devices now have software that you can install on a desktop or a laptop computer and then read your books from there. So it's no longer necessary to have a dedicated gadget just for reading an ebook. You can also read ebooks on cell phones, usually on a smartphone, not just a plain cell phone, but you can also purchase apps for those devices that will allow you to read on your cell phone on the go. So let's take a high-level overview look at some of the features that are available with ebooks. I'm going to show, these are screenshots from the Kindle app on an iPad. mostly because that was the easiest way for me to take some screenshots to show to you. But these are common features that you'll find across most of the different devices and the different software applications that you might use to read an ebook. So I think in terms of usability, one of the most important features of ebooks is the ability to go directly to a specific location. So here I can jump back to the beginning. I can go to a table of contents to choose a specific section of the ebook or a chapter. I can also go to a specific location. And this is different from opening up a print book, where in a print book you would go to a specific page. Page numbers are being incorporated now into ebooks more, but in the meantime, you really are specified more by location, which is like a line number or a word number as opposed to a page number. That does make it difficult to mix the two in a classroom environment if you have some students who would turn to page 150 and others who would go to location 5072. It can be challenging for the students using an ebook to find the right place. But that's where the table of contents and more of a topic-based location can come in handy. So besides jumping from location to location, another feature that nearly every ebook program and device offers is the ability to bookmark a location. So here, in the upper right-hand corner, if you press there, on most of these devices that are now touch-based, you can bookmark that page. It's kind of like folding over a corner. Or here, the Kindle app drops a visible bookmark. That way you can easily find this location, this page, again, if you need to come back to this particular passage. In fact, if you go back to this location menu that I showed you before, there's an option for My Notes and Marks. Once you've placed a bookmark, you can use that option to go directly to the bookmark that I placed on this page. So the bookmarking feature allows you to track where you are, anything that you want to be sure to remember, and helps you find those locations again quickly. Especially important in a textbook if there's a table or a chart that you may need to refer to on a regular basis. One of my favorite features about ebooks, particularly for our students, is that most devices and applications allow you to look up a definition for a word. They have embedded and built-in dictionaries, usually only English, but they can allow you to just simply select a word and then give you the option either to look it up, or the Kindle app just automatically gives you a definition for that term. Again, particularly useful if you have a lot of jargon or specialized language that students might not be terribly familiar with yet. They can use this feature to look up the word while they're still within the text, rather than trying to flip to a glossary at the back or look the definition up on a separate device. They can simply look it up while they're reading. You can also add, use the note button that came up here. When I selected this word, I can add a note and type in my own message to myself. So here I just said remember this as a quick reminder to myself, but you can put in a longer message as well if that's appropriate. And then now I have this little blue box to indicate that there was an annotation here, and I can, if I press on that, it would pop up with the note again, so I can read my notes to myself. It's just like making notes there in the margin of your textbook, except you can do it here with the annotate note feature. And again, once you've made this annotation, that will show up on the menu for notes and marks. So I can, rather than flipping through the pages to find where I made a note in the margin, I can find my note and skip to it directly from that Go to Location option. You can also, once you've selected or highlighted either a, oh, has everyone lost my audio? Can everyone hear me, or anyone hear me? Okay, it looks like a few of you can. Just give me a moment to write to Angela. If you ever do lose your audio, to anyone who's listening, you can go into the audio setup wizard, or try leaving the room and entering again. Sabiha, you can't see the slide. Let me try loading the slide again. I'll go back one and forward and see if that brings it up. If you do have bandwidth issues, you can close the, minimize the audio and video window at the upper left, and you won't get to see me, but that may increase the bandwidth for you. Just click the triangle next to where it says audio and video. That will collapse it, and then you should get a smoother experience. All right, so in addition to adding a note, you can add a highlight. And the highlight button here is in the center. And what that does then is after I've selected this, I can press highlight, and now that whole passage is colored. And again, this will add itself to the notes, my notes and locations, my notes and marks. And I can jump to this passage again later so that I can find it, review it, and learn from that again later. Finally, you can also change some of the settings for the way that your book is viewed. And this is particularly useful if you have, for individuals with vision impairments. You can change the size of the text. So here I have this at a fairly small size, but I could have expanded this much larger so that I could read easier. It puts fewer words on a page then, but it does allow me to read it in a comfortable manner. In addition, on this particular version, in this app, I can change the background color. So if I'm reading in a dark room, a white background might be too bright. I could change it to black with white text, or to a more sepia toned. And I can adjust the brightness as well. So if I want white but I want it to be dimmer, I can pull that slider down to see it differently. Are there any questions? I saw one come up here earlier. Isabel, are there any statistics to determine if the dictionary feature is helping people expand their vocabulary? You know what? I don't know of any. But that would be, I think, an interesting study to do, to see if having tools like that available makes students rely on them more, so they don't actually internalize and learn the vocabulary, or if it increases their comprehension at all. I'm sure that as e-readers and e-books become more common, that studies like that will start popping up. But definitely something to keep a look out for. Any other questions? I'll pause for a moment. I see a few people typing. Can one copy text from an ebook? Generally not, because of the digital rights management, or the DRM, that gets put onto the ebooks. The apps usually don't allow you to copy and cut out a piece of the text. Sheila, the article you have on screen sounds interesting. Can I get the URL? Interestingly enough, this is our newly revised instructional guide. We've had one here at NIU for a while, but this is the revised, updated, and we made it available both on our website and as an ebook. I'll pull up the URL quickly and send that out to you so you can take a look if you're interested in it. Just a moment. You should get a pop-up window here momentarily that will open up the instructional guide. You can view the individual articles, or you can download the book in a variety of formats if you wanted to use it as an ebook. Great. I'm going to go ahead now and move forward. So there are other features that some e-readers will allow you to have, but not all of them. Some do have a social layer where you can actually share content with friends or acquaintances that you're connected to via social media. So you could share a passage, highlight it, and then choose to send a link via email or send it to people you're connected with on Facebook, something like that. You can also, on some, actually sync your reading location between devices or apps. So Kindle's a great example where you can have one book, purchase the book from Amazon, and then get it on your Kindle e-reader as well as on an app on your iPad and their software on your computer, and have it synchronize with all of those devices. So whatever was the last page you were at, you could jump right to when you switch devices, as well as you can view the comments and notes that you've made, annotations, bookmarks as well. And as I pointed out, some of them allow you to change the font and color. That's based, again, on your device capabilities. In some cases, we'll look at some of the black and white devices. Obviously, you can't change the color, and on others, they'll allow you to change the font, and some won't. I'm watching the participant list, and it looks like some of you are having issues with the video bandwidth. I'm going to go ahead and turn the video off. I don't think that watching me is really that important, and if it's slowing down your systems, I don't want to affect you adversely. A few more questions. I have ebooks on my PC Kindle, and they do not have page numbers. What do you recommend to be the best way to find a section? That also depends a great deal on how each ebook is coded. So some have tables of contents that are really robust and will allow you to jump back and forth. Otherwise, especially if it's a free ebook, it can be very difficult when it's not coded properly to be able to find a specific location. There is, and I didn't mention this in the previous features, there are also search features on most e-readers. So if you can't find a location using the table of contents, you can perhaps open that text search and search by keyword. Case to sharing, could it be possible for people to copy passages from the ebook via Facebook? Again, a lot of that depends on the capabilities and what the particular ebook and that particular device allow you to do. And then again, another question, are the ebooks automatically connected to the internet, or are they standalone devices? Most of the e-readers are connected via Wi-Fi if you have a wireless internet connection. Some have an internet connection built in, like a 3G cell phone connection. But they don't require an internet connection usually to read. You only need the internet connection to add content. So there's one more category of ebooks that is where I really see a lot of great potential, and that's an interactive ebook. Sometimes they're also called multi-touch books or smart books. But really, these go beyond plain text. Instead of just giving you the ability to read, these ebooks can include video. They can have fancy animations of either a process or a 3D model of a molecule. You can have interactive diagrams, maps, images where you can click on portions and have text pop up. They can include review quizzes. They can include chat features where you can send messages to others who are reading the book. For example, here this is an ebook, and really it's a textbook, with a video embedded. So as you're reading the text of the page, you can also play that video to get a little bit more information. If you think about most of our textbooks nowadays, they come with special web content that you can go to the book's website to view more information. Here in an interactive ebook, that video can actually be embedded right within the book. Here is an interactive image, and this is actually from a great book called Resonate on making your presentations stick and being persuasive. So here in a study of Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, they added these hotspots. So this timeline, the orange line, shows you, connects to a diagram that Resonate uses throughout the book. And they've added these hotspots where you can click and read a portion of the speech along with what function that is serving. So here this first point is telling you what the current situation is, and the later ones at the higher end of the timeline are showing you what can be. But by using these interactive elements, you don't have to have all of the text on screen. You can view it a piece at a time. So we've already had some questions about this, so I'm going to move into talking about some of the devices and the formats that ebooks come in. If you want a truly comprehensive, in my opinion, categorization of ebook readers, the Wikipedia entry on this is, I think, possibly too exhaustive. And it won't give you a recommendation as to what ebook e-reader is preferable, but it does include this chart of all of the ebooks that are available on the market and what features they do or do not have. So here again, these are the two most common e-readers. On the left is a Nook Touch, and on the right is a Kindle Touch. These are touchscreen readers. The Nook has a few buttons here at the edges that you can use to advance pages, and they both have a home button down at the bottom. The Nook's is a little N, the Kindle's as those parallel lines that will take you back to the menu. These are characterized by e-ink or electronic paper. What that does is it reduces the glare because you don't have a bright reflective screen. That means that you can read these in bright light, in sunlight, and it means that there's a low battery usage. The technology that creates the electronic ink, the e-ink, doesn't require battery to sustain an image. It only requires battery power to change what's on screen. So each time you turn a page, it requires battery, but while you're on the page, it just sits there static. So the Kindle Touch, for example, claims to have up to 30 days of battery life. Most of these electronic paper e-readers have at least a 7 to 10 day battery life. There are, of course, limitations. Right now, e-ink is limited to black and white, so you're really restricted to text and some simple images. There's no color, and the pages tend to refresh slowly because the e-ink has to flash first to white to black to white in order to clear the image before it puts up a new one. So there's always a delay as you turn pages. by comparison then, now there are several varieties of LCD e-readers. These are really sort of mini tablets. Here at the left, this is the Kindle Fire, and the right is the Nook Color. There are, of course, more out there, but these are the two most common. And these LCD e-readers are similar to a tablet like an iPad or a Samsung, but they're not as powerful. So the processors are slower, the screens are smaller, they can't do as much. They can, however, display a color picture, which the e-ink couldn't, and they refresh faster. You can even run some apps, some games, and browse the web as opposed to just being limited to ebooks. However, the LCD screen is glass, so it can be difficult to read in sunlight or other bright light. And the backlight can cause eye strain if you read for a great length of time. And again, that LCD screen requires more battery life to display an image. So most of these have battery life in the range of 7 to 10 to maybe 12 hours, as opposed to the 30 days. And then, of course, tablets are great e-readers as well. As I mentioned, many of the manufacturers of actual e-reader devices make apps. So if you purchase ebooks through Amazon, you can have the Kindle app on your iPad or on your computer, but on the tablet it's really quite lovely. And some of the interactive books right now are really only available on the iPad. We'll talk about why that is in a moment. And then, of course, as I mentioned, you're not limited to these particular devices when you're trying to read an ebook. For example, I mentioned smartphones, a desktop computer, or a laptop. And in fact, Amazon has released a Kindle viewer that will allow you to read your ebook library right from your browser. So you don't even need to download some of the software. You could conceivably read those right within your internet browser. As you would imagine, a multitude of devices means that there are several different file types for ebooks as well, although we can limit it really to 3 based on what the different devices can read. The most common file format now is an EPUB. This is compatible with almost all ebook devices. It is not, however, compatible with Kindle, which has the market share for tablets, or for e-readers. So to read a book on a Kindle, you really need a MOBI or an AZW file, but it's easier to generate a MOBI file. If you have an e-reader, that means that if you have a Kindle, look for one that's labeled as a file for a Kindle. If you have other e-readers, you can use the EPUB format as well. And you'll find many ebooks are released in a PDF format, just like you might read on your computer with Adobe. And this is compatible with almost all e-reader devices, including Kindle, except for the oldest first-generation version of Kindle. However, PDF doesn't have the extra features like the annotation and the bookmarking. You're really limited to just reading if you have a PDF format. So 3 different file formats plus others, but these are the primary ones that you need to worry about. And for the most part, you'll just need to be able to select the correct file type based on your device. So if you have, like I said, a Nook or anything other than a Kindle, you can use that EPUB format, which there are some tools that are easy to create too. I saw a question. Angela asks, is it free? I'm assuming you're talking about some of the apps, the software, or like the Kindle browser ability. Most of the software is free. What isn't free are the books. So if you want to purchase an ebook, That has a fee associated with it, but the actual use of the software, yes, is free, tied to your normal Amazon account for the viewer. Great, keep the questions coming as you have them. So now that we've talked about what the features are and what the devices are that you might want to use, let's talk a little bit about how you actually can use and find ebooks. For textbooks, you can look to your publishers. Many of them are now starting to make some of the more popular titles available in an ebook format as well as their print format. If you're teaching a class that uses more popular literature, then check with Amazon or iBooks to see if the publisher has created and offers an ebook format. In some cases, for textbooks, the textbook publishers will even create a custom ebook based on anything in their library. So you could create an ebook that includes chapters of several different books and combine that into one custom ebook. The downside is that, of course, students can't sell it back. You can also get those printed, and they can't sell them back because they've been customized. But if you want to use content from 4 or 5 different sources, rather than asking students to purchase 4 or 5 different books, you can combine them to create a custom text, either as a print book or as an ebook. You can also find, oh, Angela, do we request the publisher to set up the custom book, or do you do it yourselves? The two that I've worked with the most are Pearson and McGraw-Hill, and they have tools on their website where you can pull together the content yourself and view it to preview it, and then either put in a purchase order with them through their website. But you can probably talk to a representative over the phone to work with that too. But you request the content and choose what you want to be included. So there are also a variety of ebooks available through libraries. You can check out an ebook for a short period of time and then return it back to the library. Many public libraries are offering this now as a service for their patrons, and the NIU library, in fact, subscribes to a particular service called eBrary. And you can find the link to eBrary on the NIU library's website. In the lower right, there's actually a button that says eBrary. So here, this is what eBrary looks like. They have textbooks on all of these topics, and they boast that they currently host 4,900, oh my goodness, 4,096 64 documents. There's quite a few books and articles out there. They also claim that they added something like 6,000 in the last few months. So it's a rapidly expanding repository as well. Pardon me, I had to turn the microphone off. I didn't want to sneeze in your ears. So here, there's no guarantee that these are the books that you would want to use, but there are a variety of resources that you could make available to your students here at NIU through this eBrary repository. And then finally, if you don't have, can the ebooks in the library be downloaded? I believe they're primarily viewed through the browser or downloaded to a mobile device, like a reader or your iPhone, iPad, etc. And if you can't find a resource that you want to use, you can create your own from a variety of ways. The easiest way to create an ebook is using Pages. If you aren't familiar with it, Pages is the word processor designed by Apple for Macs. So if you have access to Pages, or you can get access to Pages, it will directly convert a document to the EPUB format. That's how we created the instructional guide as an EPUB ebook. by creating it within Pages and then just exporting it. Pages will use the table of contents that you've created to create an interactive table of contents that you can use to navigate through an ebook. If you don't have access to Pages, there's a free software called CALIBRE, or CALIBRE. I always want to say CALIBRE because it has Libre in it, like book in several languages. But anyhow, this software can convert on a PC into an EPUB format. It's a little bit more challenging because they have yet to add integration from Microsoft Word into, to convert to an ebook. However, once you've created your document as a Word document, you can choose to save it as a filtered web page. And what this does is converts all of the styles that you've used in Word into HTML. Once you've done that, you can put that, here's my HTML that I added, it's communication. You can convert it, my highlight shifted a bit, but you can convert that then into the EPUB format using the CALIBRE software. And it will output as a file that you can move to your device or that you could upload to a website for others to download. Angela, you were leading me on here. What about the MOBI format? Once you have an EPUB format, this CALIBRE can convert that to MOBI. Again, you would add your EPUB file. Here's the instructional guide EPUB formatted file, and you'd use the Convert Books option to convert that to a MOBI file. So we started with Pages and converted to EPUB, and then we used the software to convert the EPUB to the MOBI format. And by doing so, covered the two most common file formats that you need to use for an e-reader. You can also, if you don't want to go quite that far into the realm of ebooks, it's simpler to convert your documents to PDF format. Again, PDF doesn't have the rich features that the ebook formats do, but it enables you to create a portable document that students could read easily from a mobile device. So depending on the settings on your own system, you may be able to, within Microsoft Word, simply use a Save As and choose PDF for your file type. And then Microsoft Word will work to format that as a PDF. If you don't have this option on your machine, you may also be able to print to Adobe PDF. And this to me is one of the strangest things. This is the first way I started creating PDF files years ago. And it's strange to me to print to PDF. But anyhow, there are a variety of converters that you can download for free and install into Microsoft Word that will generate a PDF file based on your Word document. That would allow you then to post that file that students can't change but could copy still to perhaps modify the file, but gives them a different version than just giving them a Word document. You can also, in Pages, convert to PDF using that same export dialog. But again, there's no reason for where Pages is any bit superior converting to PDF over Word, unlike with an EPUB where it's great that Pages can. I hope that in the next version of Microsoft Office they add an EPUB conversion, because it's sorely lacking as we get more and more into this world of ebooks. Apple has also created their own system for creating ebooks. Apple has a product called iBooks Author. It's only available on a Mac computer, but it's available for free. So if you have one and you'd like to give it a try, I highly encourage you to download it and get started. What iBooks Author allows you to do is to create interactive ebooks, those multi-touch, smart touch books that include not only text, but multimedia like video and animations, etc. It's a drag and drop type of software, so it's very easy to get started with. You can drag your video files that you have stored on your computer right onto the page and put it where you want it to be. So far it's a lot of pluses. It's a free software, it's easy to use. Unfortunately, the downside is that when you publish out of iBooks, it's only usable within iBooks on an iPad. So while it's a great tool to be able to create ebooks, you're very limited in terms of your users and what software they need to have in order to view your book. And so not even on a computer, nope, not even on a computer. They're only, you can't even preview it really easily within iBooks. The preview will send it to your iPad in order to view it there. So it's a great format, and Apple did it to lock you into their technology. You can have this great program to create these really wonderful interactive books, but you have to buy our software in order to view them. Yes, Isabel, anyone with a Mac could download the software and could open up the file for editing the book, but you still can't read the book that way easily. You wouldn't see the media in action. You would just see a placeholder where it goes. Angela, are there copyright issues as well? Yes, I would not use a video from the web, as you mentioned. I would try to, if you're creating an ebook like this, it should be media that you definitely own the copyright for, or that you have permission to use. Yes, Isabel, the software is for creating the iBooks Author is for creating books, not reading them or viewing them. Correct. So again, it's a great system. We plan to offer some training on using it if you're interested in the future, probably this fall. But it is limited in its application. But wonderful. Hopefully other vendors will follow suit and offer similar products. Now that we have discussed all of these features and different ways of getting ebooks, I have just a few recommendations for using those within your classroom. First, we've discussed some of the advantages and reasons why you would want to use them. I have not mentioned that ebooks generally are less expensive than print books, but not as inexpensive as one would hope. There's some there's some legal issues pending right now about price fixing, and that some of the publishers were deliberately keeping prices high on ebooks. So we'll see how that settles out and if perhaps the prices begin to fall. But in a few studies where ebooks have been tested on campuses, the students didn't save as much as they expected to. They are also portable. So rather than carrying around 3 or 4 textbooks for a day of classes, students can load them onto a single device and carry that device around with them rather than 20 pounds of textbooks. Plus, they can view those in many cases from a variety of different systems and devices to their whatever their own expectations are, their own preferences. And again, using different types of software, they can be highly interactive as well, including multimedia and review questions, mini tests. In some cases, these ebooks can integrate well with Blackboard. For example, McGraw-Hill has a building block that we have installed here at NIU where you can link into McGraw-Hill's ebook system as well as their library of activities and additional content. And in some cases, again, the ebooks are more social in that you can share or chat, but that, again, depends on what device you're using as well as the capabilities of the particular ebook that you're trying to read. There are a lot of limitations. So before you commit to using ebooks only in your classroom, I would consider these issues first. One is the scarcity of academic titles that are available. It hasn't been terribly profitable for academic publishers to spend the lengthy time necessary to create really rich multimedia-based ebooks, or even just a straight text ebook. So it can be difficult to find the academic title that you're interested in as an ebook. The publishing is also fairly restrictive because of the digital management rights and your own technical ability to create them when you're not trying to purchase or find a professionally published book. They can be difficult to find for those reasons. There's also been a lot of discussion and research about the accessibility of the devices themselves. Universities that started early adoption Kindle programs, for example, where all of their students were going to use only the Kindle devices, no printed textbooks, found that while many of the devices have the ability to read the text of a book, convert the text to speech for students with visual impairments, the devices themselves aren't always accessible. So being able to navigate the menus of the device can be impossible sometimes if you don't have if you have disabilities with vision. That is also changing. Some of the devices, like the iPad that has several e-reading components, has been lauded extensively for being highly accessible to all individuals. They have quite a few built-in accessibility features. And finally, I mentioned that while device ownership is growing, many of our students do own at least one device they could use to read an ebook from. The e-reader ownership itself is still fairly low at about 19% again of all individuals. So if you do assign an ebook, something that's only available in ebook format, students may find that they can't read it in the way that they would prefer, and they may be stuck reading it from a laptop or a desktop computer, whether or not that's what they would prefer. So suggestions and best practices for using these then. I would recommend that when you're choosing a textbook, take into consideration whether or not that book is also available in an ebook format. If you're deciding between two titles and one has an ebook available, you may want to choose that one over the print-only option so that those students who are ready to adopt an ebook can do so. And I think, again, providing the options makes it more an easier transition into ebooks. I would also encourage you to, whenever possible, make course packets available electronically. If you own the copyright, particularly for the items that you're sharing, or if you have permission to do so, making that available so students could download that to a mobile device or an e-reader will just give them options so that they can be comfortable with the materials they're using. I think it's important in either case to think about how the students are going to interact with the material that you're assigning them to read. If they need to annotate or add notes, then an electronic format, particularly in an e-reader format like EPUB or MOBI, is a great way for students to use the material, whereas if they need to add those notes and review the material extensively, a PDF format won't give them that functionality. I will send out this presentation so that you can view these resources in more detail. I highly recommend the Eli 7 Things You Should Know. They offer great use cases for using ebooks in the classroom. And finally, I see a few more questions that I'm happy to take before we close. Sheila asks, started working with, I'm assuming, iBooks author and found herself stuck with the drag and drops. Yes, we could definitely help you with those. Just send me an email. We'll set up an appointment to look at that in more detail. And then Angela, if we post a PDF on Blackboard, are they able to download it to an e-reader? Absolutely, they should be able to do so. Once you've posted that, they can either transfer the file through a USB port or they can download it. There are a variety of ways wirelessly to move files around as well. And like I said, nearly every e-reader, I believe the first generation Kindle is the only one that doesn't allow you to use a PDF file. And then how do you get ebooks from other places than Amazon? With a Kindle, it can be a little bit challenging because of that file format issue. But when you're looking on the web, a lot of websites now, when they create a resource and make that available, they will also make it available in an ebook format in addition to HTML or PDF. And I highly recommend looking, if you're looking for more casual reading for pleasure, a lot of older classic books have been released through Project Gutenberg, which is working to digitize books that are currently out of copyright. So there is no restriction on who's allowed to distribute those, and they're available for free. Just do a search for Project Gutenberg to find some of those. All right, if you have any further questions after this, feel free to contact me. My contact information there is on the slide. I'm going to stop the recording and stick around if there are more questions. Thank you for joining us.